You all set, Keith?
Yes, sir.
Okay, call the meeting to order then. Pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, any adjustments to the agenda?
I have one other thing under manager's report that I'd like to discuss with you. Possibly my absence from a meeting.
Okay. Anybody else? Hearing none, motion to approve then as amended.
So, second?
All in favor? Have it. Public forum. Does anybody have an item that's not slated to be discussed on the agenda they want to take up with the board? Nothing, Jack? Okay. Anybody else? Move on. Approval of the minutes of January 10. I guess we only got two of us here can approve those, so.
So I make a
Maybe-
motion to approval.
No, I had one of my guys tested positive.
Maybe we should table these until Phil's here. Yeah,
Yeah, why don't you table
Yeah.
them until you have a board here that can approve them?
right. No committee and board reports, and we'll move on to the manager's report.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I did provide to you once again a modified version of that ordinance provision. I was hoping I gathered the proper context from your last meeting as to where you wanted to add the additional information on the need or without the need of a public hearing or public meeting. I highlighted it in dark blue within the document. I've passed this by, also I passed that change by the planner, seemed reasonable to him. If we have no other discussions on this at this point, then I will provide it back to the planner for possible inclusion into your ordinances revisions that would go to your annual town meeting warrant.
I think we need to do something with that sentence. Right, you're talking at 2.5.1?
Yes,
Yeah, we just need to break that up a little bit. I mean, that sentence just goes on and on and on, and it confused me a couple of times reading
Okay.
it, so I think we just kind of need to wordsmith that a little bit.
clean up the paragraph
Yeah.
and maybe break it up a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I get the intent, but it took me a while to kind of really follow through this.
Okay,
What are you suggesting though, Dan? No.
Well, I had started to write it and I don't have it with me, but I can throw in some suggestions.
Okay, why don't we do that? 'Cause-
That was what I had, just, a couple of periods here and there and whatever, but
Okay,
yeah.
And a semicolon that would kind of divide the. divide that up a little bit.
Yeah, it's just,
all right, well, I'll just keep it on the until we get it.
we got it there. We got plenty of time, so.
Yeah, we have plenty of time, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
and again, even if the planner has some suggestions on how to clean, but I'll give you what
Okay,
I started working on.
Okay,
the next, just to give you a little bit update on our Cincinnati time recording, we've been discussing with a company out of Auburn to provide us payroll recording system here at the town to assist in quickly allowing the deputy treasurer to complete the payroll in a more timely manner. We're going to be putting in 3 time recording systems as well as a kiosk that will be accessed by the rec department. Essentially, what it will be is that each one of our employees will just have a key card. They'll come in and they'll swipe it by the system, and that will record their time as they're in. And then it also indicates on there whether it's a holiday, extra pay, overtime, all those kinds of things will then go into a system that will be sent to the town, to the deputy treasurer, who then will put it into the TRIO program in order to complete the payroll system at this point. It seems like it's going to be a little more user-friendly for everyone. The issue that we had that we were able to is that the fire department just recently went and completed a revamp of their reporting system, which also reported time. And we thought that perhaps we were going to have some difficulty with their system interfacing with this new recording system from Cincinnati Time. Their system is called First Due, and both Cincinnati Time and First Due have flushed that completely out. Everything is fine. So when that information comes in from First Due, it will certainly be changed onto the Cincinnati Time recording and then sent to the deputy treasurer for payroll through the Excel spreadsheet, and then she can lay it into Trio. So hopefully we're going to speed up that day, like today was a payroll day. And it generally in the past, when you had a bunch of employees, it could take pretty much a whole entire day to figure out all the bugs and make sure everybody's getting paid correctly. And we're hoping that this is going to resolve that issue. So
Is this like a swipe in when you come in and a swipe when you leave?
absolutely.
Yeah. If you
Yep.
go out to lunch or whatever, you swipe in.
Whatever you have to do. Yep. Swipe in, swipe out.
Yeah.
There'll be a system here at the office. There'll be one at the fire department. There'll be one at Public Works. And then down at rec, it will be a kiosk. They'll be able to time in on their computer, and that will be tied into the system as well. So
Who will go in on, like when they're on vacation, who will go in and code it for vacations that?
each one of the department heads will have the authority to go in and make that change. So it's all
Yep.
up to date when it comes to the deputy treasurer for payroll.
And the system will be set up so they know how many vacation days that each individual has. And
That is correct.
yeah.
Yep.
Is it set up so that the department head can double check that information?
Yes.
Okay, so before Lisa gets it, then Roger will have already been able to go
Correct.
in, look at everybody's time, make sure it's right,
That is correct.
make sure nobody forgot to punch out so that it looks like they've worked for the last 2 days.
Yeah. Right. So, yeah, we're hoping that it's going to speed up that whole process, which is our intent.
Okay.
I was contacted by MDOT to discuss with the town what kind of involvement you want in discussions with them with regard to the traffic signals that they'll be replacing at both at the log cabin and the Limerick Road intersections. I think they initially had thought that perhaps we wanted a public hearing on it. And my thought is that it may be more prudent for us to post it on our agenda and have the representatives from MDOT come here at one of your business meetings and discuss it with the board. Obviously, if the public's here, they can ask questions as well, instead of trying to hold a public hearing. Essentially, they want to know what kind of involvement you want, what kind of thoughts that you have, if there have been issues that have been expressed to you in terms of those intersections, what were they? So they can take those into account when they go ahead and change those signals out. As I recall, the biggest issue that we've had is the alignment of the intersection at Limerick Road and Route 1. That seems to be a bone of contention that folks coming up there don't know the way the signals are set, whether it's red for them or green for them, based on they can see both of those lights sometimes simultaneously. So those are the expressions that I certainly will have with the MDOT officials. So how do you want, number one, do you want to do it? And number two, if you do you want to have it as a full-blown public hearing or has it as a agenda item on your budget, on your agenda?
What's being contemplated here and what are they going to change out? Just the lights?
I think they're going to
themselves?
change the lights. Whether or not you had any other feedback to them relative to it,
Because they're not going to change that intersection. They're
No.
Just
Just
changing
the
the
lights.
lights.
they're just changing the lights.
Right.
And
Right.
are they just going to change the lights that's there, or would they be able to put up a light with a green arrow for the River Road or a green arrow for the limit?
Well,
road?
I'm not sure about that.
Because you can, if you're going south and you're going to, you've got a red light and you're going to turn into the River Road, and then you've got somebody coming up, they're going to turn into the limit road, and the light turned green. Both of those cars are now headed for each other. And I don't know how many times I have sat there and watched the cars go like this, trying to figure I'm going up the limit road, but this guy's going this way, and it's, and I don't know what we've had there for accidents, but that's a good place to have one.
Yeah, I don't think we've had any serious accidents there, but I think what happens there is the alignment of that intersection.
It's
As you
terrible.
know, it's more like this, an X as opposed to a T. And as a result of that, I think there's a challenge every now and then when people want to turn one way or the other,
Oh, I've sat
particularly
there
off.
and
of-
watched one going south over here, and the one that wants to turn in the limit road, and they meet nose to nose right there. It's like, okay, who? I'm just gonna sit here and watch this. and see.
Well, given that, I mean, maybe that's one, I mean, I don't think you can do anything at the log cabin road. I mean, that's pretty straightforward.
Right.
That's got nice turning lanes.
So there's not, I would,
Yeah, and they're not changing the lanes. I mean, the
Yeah.
road's gonna stay the exact same.
Right,
The only thing that they can do is, put some shielding on the lights.
yeah. Still
Right.
gonna be red, yellow and green, I assume.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
put shielding so that the people on Limerick Road don't see when the light is
Mm.
on that, whatever. But
Right, that's why I brought it up,
Yeah.
because I remember us, or at least I had those interactions with some folks in reference to the Limerick Road intersection more than others.
And this is
So-
all no cost to us, right? Because it's a state road.
Right, there'll be no cost as part of their projects, but you have to remember that those signals will be owned by us
Mhm.
once they're in,
once they're in their hours. we're paying for 'em.
right? So any repairs after that will be on our dime. So,
Yeah, everything going in today is all LEDs anyway.
yeah, and that's what happens up on Hill Road. If you recall, when they put that 111 intersection in, we had to take
Right.
over ownership of those lights, and that will be the same in these two locations as well.
But given the concerns Velma just expressed, maybe it makes some sense to have a representative down here to listen to that, and maybe they can tell us what they're planning on doing, so we
Sure.
have some idea as far as the Limerick Road intersection is concerned.
Sure, what I'll do then is I'll just reach out and try to schedule a time that they can come down to your meeting and discuss that. They're in the planning stages now, so this would be appropriate.
Right.
Though I don't have it there right now, but the other thing that just recently came up is that we had a fatality down off of Log Cabin and Old Post Road. And the state MDOT had reached out to us to see if our representatives, including the Board of Selectmen, Fire, Police, Public Works, want to get together and particularly initially through probably a virtual or a Zoom meeting, but begin to talk about what they term a safety assessment of that particular intersection and discuss what there may be that we can do to make it a little safer in terms of approaches, signal, not necessarily signalization, but signage and things to that nature. They'd like to have that discussion with us moving forward. I had to ask them exactly what a safety assessment was, because initially I thought it meant a safety engineer and an exorbitant amount of funding, but that's not the case here. This is an assessment to determine what, if anything, that we can do to get that road maybe a little safer. So, I mean, if you've traveled it, I mean, if you're heading north on Old Post Road and come to that intersection and you want to look left back towards Route 1 on Log Cabin, that's a challenge. Because of the sight distance that you have there and the curve in the road and the dip in the road makes it, Jason, maybe you have more detail on this, but that accident actually occurred because the person on Old Post was heading south and the woman that was heading west on Log Cabin struck him on the side as he was pulling out. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speed, I think the speed was definitely a factor there. Right.
I see.
But it was the person on the Old Post Road fault, not the one traveling on the Log Cabin.
Okay,
She was just going and that car pulled out in front of her.
okay.
I know the family.
Oh, okay.
I don't think he stopped, right?
They're right. That's what the lady that was driving the car on the Old Post Road,
I see.
not on the Old Post Road, on
The Log Cabin?
she stated that he never stopped. He
Okay.
come right through and turn and right into her. You know who that, well, I don't know if you know that, but yeah.
So the MDOT is, so I'll go ahead and schedule a safety assessment review. And whoever wants to be involved, I'll certainly send you the link. And we'll get our public officials, also our department heads involved in that, as well as the York County Sheriff's Office.
It is a tough intersection.
It is.
I've heard a lot of people complain about that intersection, so.
No matter
Yeah.
which way you're going, if you're going towards Bedford and you're coming out of Old Post, if you don't get your car angled so that you can see even to the right, this is bushes right there.
Correct.
You're gonna nose yourself out there so that you can see up the road. And even before you turn around to see what's coming around that corner from Route 1 to.
Yeah.
So it's not a.
Yeah, well, that intersection actually sets in a dip.
Yeah.
You know, so everything is coming down toward it, and so you're looking both ways, and before
And
you
some
know
of
it, they're
that-
on top of you.
Some of those bushes or whatever be cleaned out or whatever, to try to, get better visibility there. I don't know if Roger's taking a look at that or not, but.
I'm not sure, but you know, we have that unique situation here, that Log Cabin Road really is a state road. And so the state has jurisdiction on that. And that may be a challenge, I'm not sure. But maybe the site assessment or the safety assessment will provide some insight on that, and we
Well, I
can
mean,
get
to me,
that
that gives
corrected.
us even more ammunition to clear that intersection a little bit if we can, because.
Clear those whatever bushes and stuff that.
Yeah.
Plus maybe get a couple of those big stop signs that, the ones that light up and blink at you. Remind you that there's a stop sign there.
I know-
Well, yeah, that may be a good solution too, to really slow people down. I mean, we did put up larger stop signs than were there in the past to try to do that, because I think when I first got here, we had some sort of mishap there as well, but nothing, no fatals.
That was a double fatal.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, that was the two landscaping kids.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Geez, I remember that.
Yeah,
okay,
that's one of our worst intersections in town.
okay,
We've had some nasty accidents there.
okay.
Yeah, because people in the Log Cabin are flying.
Yeah.
And the sheriff's department got that, they posted that accident and they got it wrong. They had a lot of people complaining about that.
Oh, really?
They had it the other way around.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Keith,
Okay.
back to that street light.
Yep.
If they're gonna replace those lights, it might be worth reaching out to chief and seeing if he wants to add the preemptions at those intersections. Like we did on Hill Road when they added that light. That's a huge asset for us.
Those preemptions aren't there now?
No. I know that's an expense for us, but if they're replacing the lights, maybe it's cheaper to do it while they're
Like in the light.
doing it instead of adding them.
That's a real busy intersection, so it's probably real good to do that, right?
I don't know what
Okay.
the cost is or.
Okay, fine.
What's that, Jason? Preemption?
I'd say, yeah, so if if we're running lights and sirens through that
Yeah,
intersection,
yeah.
it automatically will change the light to green in our favor.
Oh, okay.
So it stops traffic both.
Getcha. Okay.
And isn't there like the red light on top?
Right,
that-
yeah.
that-
Hmm.
Yeah.
I went to Kennebunk the other day and I'm going through and I come to a light and the light's green, but the little red light up there is going around and I'm thinking, okay,
Yeah.
looking around, you see an ambulance.
Yeah,
Okay.
it can be a challenge. The last thing I have is that it's more of on a personal note. On February 10th, my daughter she lives in North Carolina right now. She's just taken a job with the same company in South Carolina. And on the 10th, I'm going to be flying down to assist her in moving into her new home. She just recently purchased a house too. An older home, so it's going to need a little bit of work, but my wife and I are going to be traveling down. My issue is that I would prefer to stay down until the 16th of February, if possible, knowing full well that you have a meeting on the 14th, which also includes a special town meeting. And that's for the demo of the building. So I'm asking if it's okay that I miss that meeting, if it's the decision of the board that you need me to be back. Obviously, I've looked at the flights coming back from Charlotte on Monday morning, and I could catch a flight and be back here by the meeting on the 14th.
I don't see the necessities anyway.
We have all the information available for the special town meeting and stay down.
Emily will
there with
have-
your daughter.
Right.
And we have the warrant and everything
Right,
else. that we need.
the town clerk will be here. I've already talked to Emily. Obviously, she'll be here. She'll take the minutes.
Right.
I'll have everything else set up and all the information will be available to you. So,
Are you gonna moderate for us?
Yeah, I'll moderate.
Okay.
That's fine.
great, thank you.
What was that? Oh, Tom's gonna be the moderator.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as long as we have all the information available on, the breakdown of your costs, I think we're good.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And the fact that we did so many public hearings and just about nobody showed up, and now on Facebook, everybody on Facebook.
Oh, I know.
Wants us to do all kinds of stuff with the town hall, and I told them, I said, you can't, but anyway.
Yeah, so there may be a bunch of people show up for that, who knows? But there was a lot of, when it came out
Sure.
on the website, there was a bunch of folks on Facebook that started questioning, geez, why so expensive and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I know I replied back that there was some asbestos abatement.
Yeah.
And, I was thinking, we appreciate that or what have you, but there was a lot of questions on more stuff coming up now. It's like, geez, come on, people, it was advertised, we had special, meetings for this.
That's certainly typical
Yeah.
for things like this. I mean, obviously, folks that are really enthusiastic about it will be at the special town meeting, ask you questions, and hopefully the vote will prevail. And if it doesn't, we'll do what the people tell us to do. So,
Yeah, and, I replied back saying, I certainly appreciate any more input, we were hoping for more input when this originally started. but
sure.
Certainly appreciate any other thoughts and ideas. We know what we can do and what we can't, so.
But it's the same thoughts and ideas that we've been talking about before, when we
Yeah.
first started this.
Well, now, one of the other things now is like, well, you could use that for the reuse room. You could make the reuse room there. Yeah, okay, who's gonna man it, But whatever.
Well, it's nice that folks are creative, at least thinking outside the box as to what we do. But oftentimes, as you well know, they may not have the logistics of the entire piece, particularly that the parcel is jointly owned or used by the fire department, and we just can't sell that lot
Okay.
by itself, and that it's generally just the building. Somebody wants the building, they can take it, but
Yeah, the person that wanted to reuse it, I got back to them and I said, the reuse room we have, because, the one we have now isn't open. I said, that's because I can't get anyone up there. I said, if you'd like to volunteer, I said, even if it was just from 10 to 2, Wednesday or Saturday, at least we could advertise it and be open at that time. I never heard of it.
Is that the only suggestion? Reuse? Was there other suggestions for use?
Museum,
Yeah.
You what?
Historical Society.
Like a homeless place,
Food pantry.
food pantry.
um,
There was a handful of other things that came out. One of them would really, geez, $50,000 but they didn't realize that there was an asbestos abatement that.
Correct.
At a good cost of that, so.
I
And
expect.
your letter that you put out that kind of went that explains it all.
Right.
And that's good. I like that. That worked out
Yeah.
really well. So,
That explanation went on the website today too, by the way, just so people, if they start looking, they can gather that information. Obviously, we'll have it available. We're trying to get our newsletter done. And unfortunately for us, Simone has been in the hospital. She was in intensive care. She had a bacterial bout that she was dealing with. And so her daughter reached out to me. So Emily comes back from vacation tomorrow, so I'll speak with her as to if we can patch together a newsletter here between our staff and all, and see if we can get that done. So I wish her a speedy recovery. Hopefully, I haven't heard back any negative or any positive at this point, so hopefully she's mending well.
Let's hope so. Okay, moving on to the business section, our purchasing policy. The reason that's there was we submitted that, or we presented it to the charter committee, and there was a couple of comments, not very substantive, except in the first or third line down, we inserted the word to implement the expenditure of the approved expenses. That wasn't in the original that Keith and I put together. And that makes sense. We had just implement the approved expense, but as Chip pointed out, well, you really got to approve or implement the expenditure of the funds. The only other changes were Donna wanted a comma after merchandise in the second to last sentence. And we inserted on the second page by affirmative vote of a majority of the board, as opposed to, it didn't have the adjective a there, so that's been inserted. So that's the only changes.
what was the second one, Tom?
Donna DeKinderen pointed out that we needed a comma after suitability of merchandise.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think we do, but I'm not going to oppose Donna when it comes to grammar. So,
Yeah, I don't, okay. It won't hurt anything.
no.
The only issue I had, and I think I mentioned it in my my discussion points under your executive summary, was whether or not you wanted to tackle it being gender neutral. Should we tackle that as a collective board? And I'm not trying to speak and take any thunder away from the Charter Review Committee, but they were we got to a point where it seemed to be a divisive discussion between committee members as to their thoughts of whether it should be gender neutral, or the historical precedent that may have been there in the past to leave it as it is. And I'm not sure that the committee is the proper venue to make that final decision on a policy that's going to be voted on by the Board of Selectmen. So not sure if you want that to continue moving along, or do you want to take a position on it? I'm not sure what your thoughts are.
I think select board should say board of selectmen. It's everywhere in the charter where it says board of selectmen, here it will be the board.
Well, I think that was one of the things that we were talking about. I think there's a lot of changes in the laws, the statutory changes that are being done to make it more gender neutral, and whether, I think the discussion we were hearing, Velma, was whether or not we want to bring this up to a standard moving forward that is more in kind of what other precedents or other determinations are being made throughout the state. So I'm not sure where we want to be. So
This policy, that you're talking in reference to everything else, but not necessarily this policy, right? Because I don't see anything in this policy that is one way or another.
well, we put on the policy select board.
Right.
Well, with the
Instead of
exception of
select-
select board.
And in the back part, we put Arundel Select Board. So obviously, we are saying here, and this was sort of, I think it was the catalyst that began the discussion on the charter in in general as to
Right.
whether they should be gender neutral, but I think I'm just talking about this policy right now, where we want to be with it. Not sure about the rest of it.
My suggestion is going to be, I think, at the charter review meeting on Wednesday, is that we present at public hearing two alternatives. And which will have the current language using selectmen and the appropriate pronouns. And the other one, you're just using select board and not using, pronouns, as Paul Shansky, I think, indicated that. I'm not sure whether we ought to hit, I'd like to get some input from the public as to what they think. So we present two competing, so to speak, proposals. And here, if we have public hearing, people show up, let's hear what they have to say. Here are the two alternatives, and get some input there. And then we either can make a decision, or maybe even have two warrant articles that speak to the charter revisions being either gender neutral or not.
Sure.
Rather than for us to get into, a contest over, my position, your position against Donna, or I'm not sure where Velma stands on this, but, the irony was that I thought most of the males were probably in favor of going gender neutral, and the staunch supporter of staying selectman was the only female that was there. Anyway, that was going to be my suggestion, rather than have us decide or come to some vote among either this board or that committee. Let's take some input if we get some, and then go from there.
That certainly makes sense.
Yeah.
To me, whether this is select board or we change it to select board or board of selectmen.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing. I don't think there's.
But
any
we
difference.
can't adopt this policy until the charter changes.
Correct.
Right.
So depending on how that goes, if
Then
we
we
have
just
to,
change those words.
that's right.
So, you need a motion. We want to approve this tonight, right?
No, we can't.
No,
The charter, for this violates the charter. The existing
Right.
charter has $5,000.
this would violate it. You're right.
We can't do anything until the charter
Oh,
is
And
revised.
then once the charter gets approved or passed, then we can.
Then we can adopt the
this into
policy.
our-
That's what the charter tells us to do.
Yep.
That's correct.
That's it.
All right, I'll put it on as an abeyance, and we'll continue to discuss this. And
Yeah.
move forward. But I think the content of the policy is correct now.
Yeah.
At this point. We'll just have to wait.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, we have two warrants, payable and payroll, for approval.
So moved.
All in favor? Okay. Any other business?
Make a motion, we adjourn at 7:34.
That was a second, Jason?
Second, yeah.
Okay. All in favor? Yeah.